Hi, everybody, and welcome to All About the Gig, episode 3. My name is Stephen O'Brien, and really excited about today's guest. Been buzzing to chat to him all week. Before we kick off, just a quick little note that if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the comment section, and we'll get to them towards the end of the stream. So our first guest today is a session guitarist from Dublin, Ireland. He's been playing guitar since he was 10 years old, with a total of 16 years under his belt playing guitar. He's currently the musical director for Niall Horan and has also performed and recorded with Julia Michaels, the RTE Concert Orchestra, I probably pronounced this name wrong, and John Alagia, who's worked with the likes of Jason Mraz and John Mayer. In recent years, he has performed live on some of the biggest television shows around the world, including Jimmy Fallon, the Ellen DeGeneres Show, and the American Music Awards. He's recently released Staying Put, which is his first release from his own group called the Jake Curran Quartet. It's available on all platforms. So without further ado, I'm absolutely delighted to introduce Jake Curran. Jake, how are we doing?
Hey, how's it going, Stephen?
Good. Listen, man, thanks so much for joining us. I know the weather is lovely today, so I really appreciate you staying in and giving us a chat about your career and your everything that you're doing so far. So thanks a million for that, man.
Thanks for having me. And it's at least it's sunny every day these days. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll make up for lost time tomorrow.
Exactly. Hopefully it stays. I've so many things I want to speak to you about, so I'm just going to jump straight in. I'm really excited. So listen, would you mind kicking it off and just give us a brief background of kind of where you're from and how you started playing guitar? We'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm from Santry in Dublin. So my dad plays guitar and a lot of his uncles play guitar. His brother plays bass. So there's a lot of music in the family. So it was just that kind of, I suppose it's the typical thing, isn't it? When someone plays in the family that you're watching them do it. And I suppose I was just seeing him do it the whole time. There was a point where they tried to send me to guitar lessons and I don't think I wanted to go. But then like a year or two later that changed and I went back and started doing lessons, first in school and then down the Artane School of Music with a guitar teacher. His name is Dave Mullen, who, funnily enough, like now lives just around the corner. So he moved around the corner. So I see him all the time now, which is great. Well, he must be
thinking he did well training it.
He was great. Well, he just showed me, like, to be fair, it was him who got me my first bunch of gigs. But I studied with him for 6 years, and it started. Can't remember what we really started with, but it kind of got onto some classical guitar stuff, like really basic classical guitar stuff, and really basic jazz stuff, and sight reading, and all that type of thing. But he showed me loads of players that I wouldn't have been exposed to otherwise. But at the same time, at home, I was hearing, like bands like Thin Lizzy and Van Halen, and hearing all the great rock guitar players. So it was good. It was a good mixture of like the two sides of, well, yeah, I would say two sides, like the rock side and the jazzier side of things. It was a good upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not bands to start. They're not bad bands to start off listening to anyway, for sure. Van Halen and Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, well, it was great. It was like hearing Van Halen was, that's crazy guitar playing. It's amazing. And also Steve Vai was shown Steve Vai pretty young. There was a DVD live at the Astoria that we had, and that was seeing that is pretty mental. Now that I think back of it, it's pretty crazy guitar playing.
Yeah, it's insane. I think for the time, the period, for some of the stuff he was doing, like just absolutely, pulling out the whammy bar, and like just an insane style,
Yeah, loads of attitude while also being like really refined, and there's all the technique in the world there, but it's kind of delivered in a quirky kind of weird, in his own weird way. But yeah, that was the crack. We just got lessons for ages, and then I started gigging. Well, like maybe doing one gig a year or one gig every 2 years or something when I was like 13 or 14. And that was through my teacher. He got me a couple of gigs playing guitar in a local musical. So
super. And that's really interesting. So like you're gigging from 13. Wow, that's young. So what did you hit a certain kind of wall and realize this is what I want to do, or what age did you kind of realize that you wanted to pursue being, a professional full-time musician?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I must have, like, because my dad always gigged as well as my teachers. So, but they were, neither of them were doing it full time, So it was like, I probably just assumed that everyone had a real job, during the day, and then played gigs at night. Because my teacher was obviously teaching during the day and then going gigging. So I don't know. There was one time definitely when my teacher was bringing me to a gig, um, again, some musical thing. It was great because he played drums as well, so he would always play drums on these shows, and I'd be playing the
Nice.
guitar, or maybe the odd time there would have been two guitars. But yeah, I think he told me one time, he was just saying, "This is like." I think I must have asked him a question, and he was like, "Oh, this is what I do for a living. You can make a living being a musician." So that I must have been around 15 or 16 then. So when he said that, I kind of didn't really, kind of just refused to think there'd be any other way.
That's great. Yeah, I mean that's really interesting as well, because I mean it's a difficult career to pursue, and like I remember, like, when I told my parents, maybe when I was younger, oh, I wanted to be a musician. There's kind of, I got that kind of slap back of, oh well, like, you need to get your college degree and you need to get your 9 to 5. So it looks like you kind of had the support then from, early on, really, and that must have made it easier then to kind of really, really go for it and have that support.
Yeah, definitely. Like, having people, yeah, in the family doing it, like pretty much, most of the kind of uncles and dad and stuff in the family, so that yeah, that was a big help. There was, though, like, a time, where they were going, you have to go to college and you have to get some sort of a degree just to have something to fall back on. So that was, and that was kind of going for a while, and I did that in the end. So, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like everyone, like, I had a careers teacher in school, a career guidance teacher, who,
Yeah.
like told me, like, I'd never have a mortgage if I wanted to pursue music, and, like, it's not the hobby and stuff like this. And it was funny, actually. I met Dave, my teacher, just about a week ago. I just went over to his front garden, and we sat out and had a couple of beers. But he was he brought that up. He was like, "Do you remember that career guidance teacher told you that when you were when you were 16 or 17?" And we were just talking about how kind of how yeah, just how much it sort of pissed us both off at the time. I think
Yeah, I can
I
imagine.
think it pissed him more off than me, because he was kind of sort of having a weird indirect go at his career. But yeah, haven't seen her since. But I'm sure she'd be surprised that you can actually make a living out of music.
Yeah, I remember my guidance conversations as well. Like, and I never saw eye to eye with any of those conversations I had. Um, it's just,
Yeah,
I don't know how they get qualified to do that, but I'm sure there is obviously a way. But anyway,
yeah, it's a weird one.
I suppose just to touch on your kind of early kind of training, like, and lessons. I know you do a bit of sight reading. How important has sight reading been for your career, and I suppose how important do you think it is for maybe younger guitarists coming up, or musicians even, that even drummers or anyone that maybe might not read music? Do you think it's like limiting, or do you think it's required, or is there kind of a middle area where you don't
Um,
really need it?
yeah, I don't think it's limiting at all. The only way I would think that it's limiting is if you started playing an instrument and only sight read, for like a lot of, like, classical musicians would grow up just sight reading, and then, like, they can never play anything that's not on a page. So yeah, I would imagine if like a guitar player, because we don't strictly play classical music unless we're obviously classical guitar players, but the majority don't play classical music, um strictly. So I would say, if you were a guitar player and you just learned how to sight read from the start and never branched
Mm,
off to anything else, yeah, of course it would be limited. But at the same time, I wouldn't have done, like, a ton of stuff like a ton of gigs that I've done if I couldn't sight read. So it's just one of these, like, strings, like, that you have to have to your, well, you don't have to have to your bow, but, like, the more kind of versatility you have and the more different types of things you can do, the more
yeah, yeah.
opportunities there are then for you to do them. But I've never found it limited me, like, at all. If anything, it's like, it's just made so many situations better, and it's meant it can do, like, the orchestra thing, or
Mm,
all those musicals, and then writing music, like, for, like, going in and playing, like with my own band, like all of that stuff is, and everyone in the band does this, charts out their music, and it's
Oh
just
wow.
a quick way of communicating with people, handing people charts, and within the chart there's there's obviously room for you to improvise and do your thing. Um, but yeah, so I definitely would recommend everyone would do it, because like say if you start playing at 10, like 10 to like 18 or 20, is like kind of your prime development period.
Yeah, take things in. Yeah.
Yeah, like and thankfully now there's a shitload of time to be doing stuff like that. So there's plenty of time to add,
Yeah.
20, there's plenty of time to work on that kind of thing, and it's only going to benefit you. So
Super. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, from my experience, anyway, from speaking and meeting musicians, it is quite a rare thing to have someone that can read in areas like guitar and drums. I think off the top of my head, the only other guitarist I can think of is Tim Pierce, that reads up to that level, where he's doing the Grammys, and you just see him sitting down, and he's just reading all the, he's reading that.
But that's the great thing about it. It's almost like it's like the best kept secret. It's like if you can do it, it's a good thing, and but there's not a lot of people who can do it. So
yeah,
to be fair,
absolutely,
though, it like a load of my kind of buddies that I would have played with growing up, they can do it because we were sort of doing the same gigs. So I know a bunch of guitar players who can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, because a lot of people can't do it, people like think it's like this impossible, really difficult thing. It's just like anything; it takes a bit of time, and it's very. At the end of the day, you're just reading
music notations.
Yeah. It's really not rocket science. Like, but it's
yeah,
hard.
gotcha.
No, I wouldn't be an amazing sight reader though. Like it would take me a few goes through.
Yeah.
If something was kind of difficult. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. I suppose what would be your general description of, if someone asked you to describe what a session guitarist is, maybe as opposed to maybe someone who just plays in a band? Like, there's quite a difference, I imagine, between being a session player towards being locked in one band. Would you be able to maybe give a brief description of what life as a session guitarist entails, work wise, career wise, and then maybe at the end of it, if you could, I know we'll touch on it later on, but you're also the musical director, so maybe if you could give us a difference there of where the musical director part of you steps in over the guitarist part, and how that differs. That's a lot of questions, but if you can hit that for me.
Yeah, don't know. Like, I suppose, like, we're just musical horse. Really. Well, we just play like sort of. I suppose like a session musician is really a guy who's in the studio all day doing sessions and stuff, which I'm definitely not one of them. Unfortunately. Maybe it's more a thing of the past, and there's a select kind of few people who do that now. But I suppose, yeah, just like a freelance kind of session. It's someone who just plays with different bands and plays with different singers, and they're not a constant member of a band. That's like you can sort of be in situations where you play different types of music, not like you're just like a rock guy who plays in a rock band or whatever country kind of band.
I was just going to say that I imagine you have to be quite open to different styles and be very kind of broad-minded on your kind of musical taste. And
definitely, like, you kind of end up sort of, if you end up doing just a ton of different styles and genres. And actually, I found the reading has kind of got me into sort of situations where I'm going, oh wow, yeah, this is just a really random genre of music. Like, I'm playing, early 1900s, or sorry, mid 1900s war songs or parlor songs and stuff like that. It's like, okay, yeah, but yeah, I would say that's what it is. You're sort of just like a musician for hire. But it's great.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe there's people who are who, like, you're in a band full time, right?
Brien
is like, I'm sure there's like people who are like yourself in the band who kind of go, oh, the session musician thing, that's it's a bit weird spreading yourself around, because it's like, would you not want to really focus on one thing? And I get that completely, because I think like there's definitely a part of everyone who's a session musician that kind of wishes they were doing their own thing, but at the same time, it's the variety is just great. Like, and for someone who like grows up studying different types of music and different guitar players and different songs and stuff, being able to do that as a job and play different music is just great.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's so fresh being able to, jump between projects, different clients you're working with, like whether it's the RT concert orchestra, towards Niall Horan, and then your own stuff as well. It must be so much fun. It keeps it interesting. So, so where does the musical director kind of sit then in a band or in a production? Could you give us a kind of a breakdown of what a musical director does, what that listen responsibilities, I suppose?
Yeah, I suppose you're kind of like the go-between. You're kind of the go-between between like a band and then an artist. And sort of you're a band leader in the way that you'll go into rehearsals and you sort of have to talk. You kind of have more of a say in the arrangement, and you sort of have to be the one kind of with the plan of how everything's conducted, how rehearsals are going to run, what the schedule is. And yeah, you can't. I suppose like you're the second person, that's like second from the top, not from the top, but you know what I mean. Like
from the artist, like you're next in line.
They have the final say about the music thing, obviously, but then is the like I get stuff. So,
I think
get it to a level that he'd be happy with,
Yeah, gotcha. I think I really got a good understanding of myself, kind of what a musical director does, was when I watched the Michael Jackson "This Is It" that DVD. And it was literally like Michael spoke to the musical director, and then from there, the musical director speaks to the band. It wasn't like a big, messy conversation. It was like, okay, change this, and they'd pause, and then the musical director would go back. Is it kind of like that when you were playing with Niall?
Yeah. Well, it's just really like someone to like kind of put a bit of order on the thing, because when bands are in, like, there's no one who's sort of a director or anything. Like everyone can be chiming in and go, no, we should do it this way. No, we should do it this way. No, we should do it this way. It's kind of just to eliminate that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
it makes sense.
Someone who's just sort of there to make a decision and make a call on it. To be honest, like the musical side, like with Niall stuff, everyone gets involved in the music side of things in terms of like arrangements and doing it like I'm not coming in and going, oh, we have to do this is it. We're doing it this way. It's like everyone's getting involved. But then the other side of it, which to be honest, it's almost like it's like 10% music and then the rest of it is just dealing with people. So that so you're also like dealing with like you're the go between like the crew and the band, or the crew and the artist, or management or label and all this stuff. So there's a lot of like emailing and sorting stuff behind the scenes that way.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really count on. I really didn't count on that happening, but then it did. And I was
just going to say that's quite a bit extra to have to deal with, like when you're on tour and playing these huge shows that we'll get to like in a bit. But I mean, that is quite a substantial responsibility. And I guess like, do you ever have you ever been in a situation where like you have to maybe discipline the band, or like have you ever had to have conversations with people, or being out late, or if they're not pulling their weight, or maybe that just doesn't happen at that level, but.
No, well, to be honest, I haven't been really doing the musical directing thing very long. Like I just did it since September, and did like maybe a set rehearsals in September, and then a set rehearsals in March or February, and then we never actually went out on tour then in March or April. So no, there's nothing there. The lads are all good boys.
During the day.
Yeah. During the day, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll tell them in the pub, what the problem is. Yeah.
Just second song, bar 2 there. You came in too early.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, loads of that. No, thankfully not though. But the funny thing is, it's like because I was in the band for ages before getting the kind of musical director role. They're all really good friends, so now it's like, oh, imagine having to tell them off. That's
what happens, man. When you get bumped up in the world.
That's weird. Yeah.
Responsibility changes.
Yeah, but at the same time, I wouldn't really like to be in a band with people who aren't like
exactly
with you,
Yeah, so. Totally. Nice one. Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense. I mean, who wants to like you want to who's the people you spend your time with the most? You definitely want to make sure you're around the right people. So I'm sure that. It's absolutely perfect, like 99.9% of the time in any of those kind of big productions. So everyone wants to be there, like, couldn't imagine it being any other way.
Like the thing is, like, you can pull people up on stuff, and you can correct things, and you can fix if there's problems and stuff. You can fix it in a very civil way, and like if you don't have to be like giving out to people, or you don't have to be like being a dick about it. It's very you sort of learn just how to word things.
Yeah. I'd say communication skills are just, you definitely need to be a good communicator. Like I know I've been in a few bands over the years and not, been with some band members who haven't really been the best communicators, and it does make things difficult, so that's, I say that's really important. I'd love to jump into some gear talk with you, because I know there's probably loads of people on here that are dying to know.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to pull up some pictures here, and if you could kind of talk us through some of them here. So I pulled this from your website. This is like your kind of your touring kind of setup. I believe is it still the same, or has it changed? I know you have some other gear as well we can touch on, but
I'm just looking at everything there that I've sold in the last year.
Oh, really? What's left then?
Well, what is left? That's a great question. I know there's a fair bit of that left. I still have the two Victory amps. Oh, sorry, I have all those amps. I have the two Victories, so they're Victory V40s. They're just like loud, clean amps, kind of like sort of like a Hot Rod DeVille or like a deluxe kind of thing. So in that picture, I was using them in a wet, dry, wet setup. So the stereo effect go into the two Victory amps, and they were getting dry signal, but they were also getting the delays and reverb. I've since thought about it more, and I kind of realized I was sort of doing it wrong. And as that tour went on, the middle amp there was dry. That's bone dry. That's just getting it's getting compression and distortion and boosts, but it's not getting any reverbs or delays, or modulation. Gotcha. But that started giving me a lot of phasing problems on tour. So I ended up just ditching the middle amp and just going stereo for that tour.
Oh wow, nice one. Yeah,
it was a fair bit into the tour. It was about 2 months in by the time I decided to do that. But
and was that more of a front of house call, or were you just getting the phase on stage? You were just losing all that bottom end or something, were you?
I wasn't really noticing it too much on stage, but the front of house guy was noticing it out front, and he was compensating for it by putting a really short delay in the drive amp. And we just and to be honest, I should learn, because I came against this problem in rehearsals recently, because I was doing the wet dry thing, and I came across that problem. I managed to sort it by like the last day, because that's the other thing about the sort of the musical director thing. Your time to be like focusing on your own parts and your own gear sort of is like cut, because you're thinking about another.
Yeah, I could imagine. Big time. You're managing the whole band, like
So that was kind of pissing me off, and I think I was probably pissing off everyone else that my gear was kind of, I was having these problems with it, but we got it sorted in the end. But yeah, sorry, from that picture then, there's the two tellies. I've got the black one. That's like a Japanese telly, 62 reissue, which is great.
Lovely. And then this is your kind of home setup at the moment.
Yeah. So this is what I'm using now. Yeah. So
talk us through this.
That's the telly there on the right, and then on the left, that's a 65 Harmony Bobcat, which is one of the old guitars that they used to sell in the Sears catalog in the States. So I think you would just you would rip out the piece of paper that had the guitar on it in a catalog, and it was just like a department store catalog, and you'd send it away with like $50 in an envelope. And then one of those. So they're kind of scattered around America in shops, and you can buy them now, and they're really cheap. Like it was like, I don't know, $350 or $400. But it's real quirky, and I've got flat wound strings on it at the moment. Which is I've been listening to this girl called Madison Cunningham. She's a cool guitar player, plays with flat wound strings, so I kind of gave that a go. But
and the amp in the middle end, and is that a delay unit on top?
Yeah, so the amp is it's a Benson Chimera. It's just a single channel, really loud, like a Class A Fender type. Well, one side of it is British voiced. If you turn if the EQ controls are one way, it's British voiced, and the other way it's American voiced. I can't really hear I don't know. Like it just sounds like more treble or more bass to me.
Yeah.
But
Shifting the EQ.
yeah, but that's amazing. I got that a few months ago. And then on top is it's a tape delay. It's a Roland Space Echo, which I literally only got. That's why I was saying all this stuff, where I was going, oh, I don't know what I've sold. I sold a lot of that.
Yeah.
I sold
So
a
much
lot
gear.
of. I sold it to fund that Space Echo. So that's cool. That's like, yeah, really old. It's a tape delay, so it's pretty warm sounding and does all these
And
crazy oscillation things. It's great.
yeah, the old tape stuff is just killer if you get your hands on it. Like I have some of the emulations, and they just sound that lovely crackle of the tape, and it's just some of them can sound amazing. I suppose, how important do you think gear is in general to playing at a higher level? You might help me justify some of the gear I've bought, depending on your answer.
I think it's always better to have really nice gear. Yeah, definitely. Like it's going to sound that, like maybe to a punter, it's not going to sound a whole lot better, but it'll sound 5 or 10% better. Like, and yeah, no, I think it's pretty important. But like I think the amp is sort of probably the most important part of the chain. So
Okay.
I don't know, like a really expensive guitar going into a little shitty amp, it isn't going to sound great. But I think you can put like a really inexpensive guitar into like a high quality amp, and you don't have to pay much money to get high quality. Like a Hot Rod Deluxe or something is like a fucking great amp. And
yeah, it's the standard backline amp as well, isn't it? It's, if you play at most festivals, it's 99% of the time going to be one there. Like, and you can set your pedals in at home if you have one to the exact same settings you want on the stage.
Yeah, that like it's really good to have like a Deluxe or a DeVille or something at home, just so you can kind of get used to them, because they're on every backline list, like at any festival, and they're just like the standard amp that you can rent anywhere. I've had some like rental DeVilles though that are just like in the States, like in some places, or I did a gig in Mexico and it did a rental DeVille, and they're just like generally in shit condition.
Really,
really horrible. But like at least you're sort of prepared for the sound. But yeah, I
Do you
think
think-
it's pretty important.
Do you think the power in the States makes a difference to the tone of the amps? Because they're running 120 over there, aren't they? As opposed to we're doing 240. Does it affect?
Possibly, yeah. But I would say this. I would think that if you're using an amp that's designed to be run on 110 or 120, it's like all these great amps came from America. So I don't know. Maybe it affects like my 240 amps going over there, but I don't really know. It's hard to tell because it's not like when I'm over there and playing in a studio or in a bedroom or something. It's like it's on a stage, so it's
huge stages.
It's less. You can't really get the microscope out as much, as you could if you were in a studio.
Yeah. I think I really learned as well the difference. As you said, like you might not, punters might not notice in a room, the difference between maybe like a €1,000 amp to maybe like a €2,500 amp. But really, when you're in the studio, when it's either in a controlled space or a acoustically treated room, as soon as you put a good microphone on a cabinet, it amplifies everything, whether it's really good or really bad. So I imagine this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's you're right. Like it is worth spending it just for that little bit more. That slightly better sound, but also it's no excuse. It's no like reason to buy like you can't just buy loads of expensive gear in an effort to compensate for like playing problems or like flaws in your playing and stuff like that, which like we all do for sure. Because I've definitely bought a ton of stuff going, oh yeah, this will make me sound better, and then I go, oh no, I still sound
still sound amazing.
But nah, still, oh crap.
Yeah. And then, like when it comes to guitars, what's your general approach to what guitars you use on tour, or what guitars you buy, or like what collection of guitars you pick? Do you go for one of each type of the main three, like a single coil, a P90, and a humbucker, or what's your general approach to? Do you favor more over the other? I know you're kind of a Strat guy and a Fender guy, so
yeah, I actually don't have any guitars with humbuckers. I don't think. Yeah, no, I don't.
Didn't you have a gold top Les Paul there for a while? I saw you were playing.
Yeah, I had that for a loan, for like a long term loan that I wasn't actually asked for it back. I stupidly was in an effort, I got a couple of guitars on like long-term loan off Gibson,
I saw that.
and
Yeah.
in an attempt to like keep them sweet, I gave them back, one or two of them, and kept kept the other two. So there was four in total. So I kept the other two, and I gave back one. I gave back that junior that was in that picture there a minute ago, and the Les Paul. But now I'm thinking I shouldn't have given them back because they've never been in contact. So
if anybody from Gibson's watching this, he doesn't mean it.
Hopefully not. Yeah. I've actually got a 12 string belonging to them. That's with all the touring gear that I have to give back because it never got. It was kind of shit. Like it never got used because we had it in rehearsals and stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, it never got to get used. So, but they're great. They're so generous.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's great to have the support. I'd say, especially when you're in the States, when you're it's very difficult. I'd imagine to fly gear over there, your own guitarist. I'd say it's nice to get that support when you're over there.
Yeah, it's been great. Like if I'm going over the States by myself, like to do something else that's like not like with Niall or anything. They've been really helpful. They'll loan like something for like a week or two, which is great.
That's great, yeah.
But to go back to your question, sorry, yeah. I'd mostly play single coils, like a Strat and a Telly. That's kind of what I use most of the time. And I've got like one of those Gibsons has P90s in it. And I think everyone should own a P90 guitar, definitely.
Yeah, they're amazing. I actually couldn't believe recently. I only bought my first Telly recently. I always thought for some reason in my head that they would just sound the same as a Strat bridge pickup, but they just don't. They're just so different. I couldn't believe the difference between a Strat single coil and a Telly. Like I've read about it, for years. That like I imagine playing those big gigs, a Telly, like your Telly must scream on those big stages, like for leads and.
Yeah, the bridge pickup on a Telly is great. I think the bridge pickup on a Strat's probably a bit brighter or a bit more brittle or something. But like there's
I found the same.
It's kind of twangy. I know everyone says twangy, but like there's some sort of beefy thing there, like below all the twang in like a Telly bridge pickup. Yeah, I'm not really happy with the pickups in that Telly. They're lollers, like they're pretty good, but maybe it's the wood or the body because it's quite a heavy guitar. So I still feel like I haven't found the right Telly,
Yeah. I was kind of not a fan of them for the longest time, just because of I was so used to playing a Strat with the contoured belly cut, but some of the newer ones have that cut built in, so it makes them much more playable. Coming from a Strat background, like I know you have your red Strat as well. That's your kind of number one guitar. So
did you get a Telly with the cut?
Yeah, I got one. Yeah, eventually, after years of trying to find the right one. So it makes a huge difference, though.
It really does. And I found the bit where your arm rests on the guitar, like I don't know if like some Tellys have a contour there, but like traditional ones don't, and the contour is much nicer. It's just much more. It is.
Yeah, no, it beats them. I don't know. You can see in the John Frusciante Telly when he used to gig, he used to put like foam over the edge of the arm part because he used to bang the arm. He used to bang it so hard.
I know. Yeah, it's definitely something that's. Yeah, it just suits the body a bit better.
So what do you think, like, given you've played all these huge gigs, like what guitar do you think is generally, if you were a young musician coming out and you're like, all right, I need one guitar that can do everything, what would be your go-to guitar if you had one? Like,
well, I don't know, because I my Strat is at the moment it's with all the touring gear, which is in England, so I kind of really missing that at the moment. So yeah, now I'd probably say a Strat, but I think a Strat or a Telly, I think you'll get by in like 95% of situations with Strat or Telly.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, they're just
expected,
they're just I think just to pick up selector position and just a few things make it just so easy just play compared to some of the other guitars that are out there.
It's amazing how like he got it perfect. He got it right. The 50 Leo Fender got it right in the 50s. I don't know, but other people would say a Les Paul, like or something like, and or 335, and people can get like good clean tones out of a 335 and stuff, which I've never really been able to do. So
yeah, they're quite dark sounding, I found.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and just like beefy or something.
Yeah, that mid kind of yeah. snap kind of in the middle. And there's been a huge change recently. I'm sure you've seen it as well, but in amp modeling and reactive low boxes and IRs, and like it seems to be like there's even hybrid amps now that are coming out that have both. What's your feedback from using them, and like what's your kind of experience from even on the road meeting other musicians that you've spoken with? Do you think the tube amp is going to die out eventually, or do you think, what's your opinion on kind of some of the new technologies coming out?
Well, I think the one that you were saying you bought, the PT15, the Sur, that sounds really interesting because it's got the best of both worlds. It's the tube amp, but you can also switch off that side of it and use the load box in it. Yeah, like I don't know, like what I found, like from meeting like American musicians who are touring with pop acts, is seems like a lot of their front of house engineers and probably just their whole production team for those artists, kind of like who's an example, like Khalid and Ariana Grande and Halsey and those kind of pop acts. Like I met some of their musicians, and yeah, it seems like their production teams don't want any noise on stage, so they're all on Kempers.
All right.
So
Yeah.
you see, like yeah, you go to America and play like we played this festival or this run of festivals at Christmas. I think I was probably the only guitar player, maybe bar one or two, but there was maybe 8 bands on every night, and I was usually the only one using the tube amp. It was Kempers all the way.
Wow.
And I think like that, yeah, that says something. Like that, they're obviously. I think like listening to a Kemper out front, it sounds amazing. And like I've played gigs on Kempers, and I've listened to the virtual sound check the next day or whatever, and gone, wow, fuck, that does sound really good. But
Yeah.
at the time when playing it, I just didn't really was never.
Yeah,
Really a fan.
I heard an Axe Effects recently, and I don't know, man. It was just. I mean, I heard it through a PA speaker, you know, not through a cabinet, but I don't know. I just couldn't. I didn't really dig it too much, you know. I just didn't. There's no sponginess in any of the. It was like everything was here, like, you know. There's no dynamics. I felt like you can feel the tubes flex. I was missing that, you know. I don't know. I have kind of a plexi style amp, so if you play harder, it will break up harder. If you play lighter, it'll be cleaner. So I could not get used to the Axe Effects at all, you know. Just like,
yeah, it almost feels like it's kind of flimsy, and there's no like body or weight behind the note when you play them. I'm sure if you have loads of gain on it, it makes it better. But like, yeah, I don't know. Come to think of it, like what you said though, like listening to Kempers, sometimes you go, wow, fuck it, that's so direct. It's almost like a bit intrusive, and it's like it's sticking out of the mix. It's almost too perfect or something. Or
yeah,
too clean.
Yeah.
But the IR thing is cool because that's a nice middle ground, you know, or the load box and the IR side of things.
Yeah.
And I've experimented. I've got the torpedo 2 notes, just their
nice.
their load. It's the Captor one, and that's great. And for a while there, I was recording the Benson upstairs with the load box, and then I was recording it with the load box and the mic, and I was like, oh wow, they sound great blended together. And then I just turned off the load box one day, and I was like, oh yeah, just a mic on an amp. That's the sound.
Totally come full circle, like.
Yeah, it's just like fuck, I couldn't be arsed with all that other stuff. Hopefully I can just use tube amps on stage forever.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so as well. But I suppose I do get from the musician, like, you know, like when you're on a tighter budget, obviously throwing a Kemper into an overhead, because they're quite small, and some of them are actually even in pedal formats. I mean, obviously you throw that into an overhead bag if you're traveling.
Oh yeah,
I am. Yeah. I think I'll still be you know, that the kind of a tube guy, I think, until I stop playing guitar, I'd say.
Yeah, I suppose it depends. Like some people are able to like get a really good sound, but at the same time, you know, they don't even think about it. They don't have to think about it too much. They're just kind of like naturally able to get a good sound out of things and like make it sound really good. It's probably because it's in their fingers or whatever. But like then there's other people, and like I feel like I think a lot about tone, and it just sort of I've thought about it so much that I can't make like the digital thing work, which is probably a bad thing. But there's some people who will just plug into a Kemper and get it to sound amazing and sound really good straight off because they just have that they have the right attitude towards it. So
Yeah,
Being kind of
absolutely.
diplomatic here, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I want to ask you a question that has been driving me crazy for years, and I know a lot of guitar players. I see this on forums all the time, and I want to ask you from the perspective of having gigged on the biggest stages, especially you're saying that you use amps. Where does wattage come in? Like where's enough headroom on wattage when it comes to amps in your experience? Like from my experience, I've been playing smaller, shows like around Whelan's and Dublin and venues like that, 300, 400 capacity. Like we're turning right down. Like this, like I mean, 15 watts is more than enough. What's your experience playing the bigger stages? Like I know the V40s are obviously 40 watts, but
yeah,
what's
yeah.
your sweet spot? Or
I almost well, it's not really up to me to decide. Like it's front of house are always kind of looking. It's like they're just looking to have a cleaner sounding stage. So yeah, the volume seems to like my volume's pretty low. Like on a DeVille, I was using a DeVille at one point, and it'd be like 2 on the DeVille.
yes,
Like really
so,
low. Like I feel like I need more watt need to turn the amp up more for a pub gig when when there's no monitors and everyone's just kind of hammering away.
yeah,
Um, but then on like a bigger stage, yeah, they just keep the volume right down, which is kind of a shame, but you can't really fight it,
yeah. It's definitely the way it's gone. Like I remember I was filling in for a band, like a tribute band before, like, and there's two lads, and they came with their 100-watt heads, and we were doing sound check, and the lads were vroom, cranked the heads up, and the sound engineers
Yeah,
walked down from the front of the house and was like, "Lads, what are you doing?" Like, they were
yeah.
like,
Well,
"What?"
I know. Well, you're a sound engineer yourself, as well. So like, you must come across people. Yeah, you probably prefer situations where the band is a bit more controlled.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult though, because like the sound engineering side of, from work with other artists and stuff myself, is like, yeah, obviously turn down, because then if you're so loud, then we're not going to be able to hear you through the PA, or can't even put you in the PA. But on the flip side though, when you're actually gigging, when I'm playing gigs, it's really, really, really frustrating to me when I can't hear the amp, and I have to get it through a wedge. I just like to hear the amp, and it
Yeah,
for some guitar players, I know it definitely upsets them, like, and puts them off, and they could have a bad gig even because their amp is so low, and then people are telling them, oh, we couldn't hear your amp, even though maybe they were standing too close to the stage and weren't getting the PA. Do you know what I mean? There's always that grey area of, oh, we didn't
yeah,
hear you, like, and
yeah. I know what you mean.
uh,
Yeah, and like, yeah, I know, especially about like hearing the guitar amp from the amp. It's like hearing the guitar amp in monitors is kind of it
it's
can be
different. It's not a cabinet. The
yeah,
frequency responses are all different, and there's tweeters that might take the head off you that you're not used to hearing, and there's lots of different kind of aspects of it.
yeah. It's always yeah. It always kind of takes the head off you a bit. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it is kind of weird though. That it's like the bigger the room gets, the lower the volume. But I'm sure it's different though if I was playing guitar with Joe Walsh or someone like that, like,
Yeah,
or Aerosmith or whatever. Like, there's like you can do whatever the fuck you want then, and if you're playing with a guy who's like a rock guy and it's a rock band, I'm sure turning
yeah,
up is the name of the game.
absolutely, yeah, for sure. And like when you're touring with big clients such as Niall, like you carry all your own equipment, like you have to ship it out, or how does that work getting your gear out there?
Well, my gear will get like someone will come and pick it up here from the house, and I'll send it over to London for rehearsals. And then once it's over there, like there's times where you'd fly and you'd pick up rental amps, but the pedal board and the guitars are generally all brought. But yeah, so from rehearsals, it's just packed down into a truck, and it's just sent with all the rest of the gear, with the drums, keys, and all the PA gear. So they all travel by, I don't know, is it flight or by boat? No idea.
Gets there
But yeah,
anyway.
it gets there.
And like I'm always curious, like what way do you travel with guitars? Like do you have to now go into fly cases? Like you don't bring them on carry on, I presume. They're all in the, or
Yeah,
whichever.
yeah. You can't really. You kind of have to put it all in a. They're all fly cased, or if they're not fly cased, actually, I don't think there was any fly cases brought on last year. They were all put in a big, like the 20 guitars or whatever that we were bringing, or the 15 guitars. No, it was probably 20 guitars between the three of us, between me, Niall, and the bass player. Um, they were putting these big trunks, two big trunks, so they were upright, So it was dead handy. They would just open the trunk every day and just pull the guitar out. You wouldn't have to uncase everything. Um,
Oh, nice.
But yeah, and then there's like with customs and everything, all the gear has to arrive in the same kind of package, and it has to all be accounted for. So I can't really go taking a guitar into America, let's say, on my back, and then hoping that they'll put it in the truck on the way home.
Gotcha.
Just
Yeah.
for customs reasons and stuff. Yeah. So, but I usually end up doing is like, you can go and buy a guitar and try and sneak that home and stuff like that. But they'll run into issues if something ends up on, I think it's called a carnet, which is just all the gear. If something ends up in there that wasn't there when it came in, there's trouble.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Just tax and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
I'd imagine.
that's what I've been told.
Yeah. Let's try it.
That's enough to go. Okay.
Yeah, stuff. So actually, I think that's a good segue probably into the whole kind of like Niall Horan part of your career. How did that come about, and can you give us kind of an insight into like how you got the call or the audition, and then how that went down, and then if you can talk us right through to like, getting the gig and meeting Niall for the first time? Because I mean, look, he is one of probably the biggest pop star on the planet. Like, I mean, what a gig to get! I mean, that's just unbelievable. You must have been like, can you talk us through the process of that, of how it came about? And
yeah, it was it was great. It was real exciting, and it happened. Basically, I'd done a gig maybe when I was 17 or 18 in JJ Smith's in town. It's closed now, unfortunately, but did a blues gig with this blues guitar player from America, Sean Jones, who have since kind of become good friends with. And his drummer was Jerry Morgan from Newry. And then we did the gig when we were 18, and it was good crack. It was like kind of ended up being like dueling blues guitars. And then that was that. And then like 6 years later, Jerry ended up MDing Niall. Sorry, musically directed Niall. So he asked me to come over on audition, and yeah, went over. Like, it was kind of stressful getting over because like the plane was delayed by 3 hours, and I was sitting on the plane, the Ryanair
oh
flight,
God,
going,
oh no!
I went over the day before though, like the day before the audition, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, flew over with a little pedal board and an electric guitar, and then I rented an acoustic over there, and so I had to play 2 songs. One song was one that was released already, and one was an unreleased one. So you have to sign like a non-disclosure agreement form to say that you wouldn't leak the song and stuff like that. So I learned the songs, got the sounds, and then went in the next morning and did it. And it was basically like it actually ended up playing with the band that became the band. We all were sort of auditioned at the same time, and we all became the band. And most people were friends with Jerry as well, so it was kind of convenient. The band that So, but that was and we did, and Niall came in and he sang the songs with us. It was a really quick kind of process. It was play 2 songs and then that was it.
Was it like a kind of like when Niall came in, I guess, and you're all there? Was it like a like a first date or something where you're kind of nervous, like, trying to make a good impression and like not say the wrong thing and like not be too cool,
I suppose it is, but at the end of the day, you just go up and it's like any situation, just go up and say, "Hi, how's it going?" My name's Jake. It was there definitely was nerves, like, because I'd never done anything like I'd never done an audition for, like, I only did an audition for college, like that was the only time I've ever auditioned for anything. So it was pretty nerving, but
So basically, you just came in and you just lashed into the 2 songs and you just had a bit of a chat or something, was it?
Came in, had a little like 2-minute chat, and then he lashed the guitar on and we just went into it really. It was my first time even using in-ear monitors and stuff, and I had these like cheap pair of Shure ones, and so it was sort of weird. It was, again, backline rental DeVille, sounded like absolute shit. It was crap. Like it was. I think it was actually the worst. It was the worst DeVille I've ever played through, of all the ones, even the broken.
So it's not about the amp. Doesn't matter about the amp. You still got the gig.
Well, again, it's that thing. It probably sounded okay to people listening, but playing it was just horrible. But yeah, so yeah, just did it, and we played through the songs and it went well. And then I did kind of heard it was like, oh yeah, it's looking good. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just went home. I think I stayed in London again that night and didn't actually hang out with the lads that night. But yeah, went home the next day, went back to Ireland, and then like 3 weeks later, like at this point I had just given up on the thing. I was like 3 weeks, like
Oh wow, okay, 3 weeks,
obviously
yeah.
obviously haven't got it, yeah. But then 3 weeks, yeah, got a call and was asked to come back to London and go to see a gig with Niall and then the lads that were in the band. So yeah, we went to see the Blizzards actually in Camden.
No way, like a lads' night out, like was it basically?
Yeah, it turned into a almighty drinking session. Yeah, which I don't know if there was like let's bring the lads over and get them hammered and see if anyone's a liability and a lunatic.
Yeah, that's like.
It could have been something like that, but I
I
don't
bet
know.
you it was. I bet you
Yeah,
it
probably.
was.
But we all had a great time, and then found out that like during the course of the night at some point that we got the gig. So yeah, it was great. I remember actually finding out and running into the toilet and going,
Yes, I made it.
yeah. No, but that was actually great. That was like a fun night. It kind of sort of set the tone for how things went for the next couple of years.
Yes, I perfectly on that note. Like, what is the tone? Like I mean, I get the sense that he seems like a pretty chilled out dude. That I like. You seem to have great crack from your, follow you on Instagram and I watch all your stories and stuff. It seems like you kind of there is that kind of vibe between the whole band where you're just a load of lads hanging out and having the crack. Is it like that, or is it really like that all the time? Is he untouchable in a way where you don't really see him too much, or?
Oh, it's like that. No, we all see each other. We see him pretty regularly, and everyone's in. We're all in the same tour bus, and sort of living in close quarters, and we all arrive to the venue at the same time. So yeah, no, it has been like that. Everyone gets on really well, and thankfully it was like a bunch of lads. I kind of found it was a bit like college or something where you sort of like apart from the gig and a sound check, you're kind of you have a lot of like there's a lot of free time when you're touring. Like there's a lot of sitting around, and what you do at that time is up to you. You can do nothing, or you can, have the crack.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, we had yeah, it was great,
And where do you rehearse, or like when you're about to go on a tour, like you're saying you're doing pre-production? Like, how does that come about? Do you have to travel to the UK for a number of weeks and spend time there? And I imagine you're put up in accommodation, and is that kind of how it works, or how does it work for pre-production rehearsals?
Yeah. I go over to London, and yeah, we rehearse in a studio over there, and you're there for like 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks, and I usually end up like they'll put me up in a hotel like next door. Or last time actually was great. We were in an Airbnb, and conveniently a lot of the lads moved out of London, so then they were entitled to come in and join me in the Airbnb. So we had like all of us staying in the Airbnb. It was
Nice.
It was great. But yeah, that's the crack really. And those days are like it's 10 to 6 or 10 to 7, 10 to 8 every day. Pretty flat out. You like half an hour, 45 minutes in the middle for lunch. So yeah.
And what percentage of that then is with Niall, and what percentage is with just the band of the 10?
The last time I think it was just the band for 2 days, and then it was 10 days with Niall and the band, or 12 days Niall and the band. So it was a lot of time. Sorry, we didn't have a lot of time just as the band to get things together, but it was kind of good because I was thinking about it. Like we had 2 days and we had 12 new songs to learn, so we did 6 one day, 6 the next day, and managed to you get like 7 or 8, maybe not 7 or 8, but like 4 or 5 run throughs of every song, which is sort of enough to have you in a good shape for when he comes in.
Yeah.
And I was thinking at the time, it's like, oh, it'd be great for a few more days, but he's pretty heavily involved in sort of saying what he wants and about arrangements and stuff. So if we had a load of days just with the band, we would have come up with these arrangements, and then he would have come in and not liked them, or that could have happened. So it was good having him in pretty early, so he could kind of say what he wanted, and we could then mold the whole thing together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna pull up a picture here of yourself and the man himself there. Yeah. He strikes me as a guy that is into his guitars. I see he's quite a few custom shop tellies, and I've seen him play. That's a lovely 335, is it, with a Bigsby?
I think it's a 61. Yeah.
Is it? Oh
it's
wow, okay.
really,
It's a real one.
oh man, yeah, it's as real as they come. Yeah, it's great. The neck on it is. I found the neck really weird at the start. It's quite small, but yeah, there's a couple of days in sound check where I just grab it and sit there for an hour, just kind of noodling away in it, and it's an amazing guitar. I think the Bigsby was put on afterwards, but yeah, he's got a couple of, he's got that. That's his nicest electric guitar. There's a 74 telly that he was using recently. That sounds good. Wouldn't be my favorite telly I ever played, but it sounds it gets the job done, and the sound, we were kind of, because we went out, I went out with him to buy that one day just because we needed a guitar for a certain song, and it definitely suits the song that it was used for, or the songs that it's ended up being used for.
Yeah.
On the acoustic side, he's got Loudons, and like he's got like 2 or 3 Loudons, and they're just phenomenal.
Yeah, lovely guitars.
Yeah, if I had one of them, I'd learn to actually play acoustic guitar, but because I don't have one, I couldn't be arsed.
So, I mean, looking at some of the gigs you've done, this is with Julia, is it?
Yeah, I think that was like first gig with Julia.
I mean, talk me through this. I mean, this is your first gig with. I mean, how many people are in that venue? Do you think over? Is that an arena?
It's
or
yeah. Well, it was supporting. She was opening up for Pink. So
wow.
Actually, yeah, I've got the dreaded Kemper floorboard there.
I was just going to say,
yeah. Well, I was that gig. I was only on that gig for like a couple of weeks. I was depping for or filling in for Dan Cantor, who's the guitar player and the MD of that gig. He was away doing something else for 2 weeks. So see, she had toured with Niall for 3 months, or maybe 2 months, around the UK and Europe in 2018. So I got to know all them really well, and they're a great bunch. And then when it came around, they needed a dep. I was in America at the time, so. And I just casually chatting to him randomly one day, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be here for, a couple of months." So he asked me to fill in for him, and that was great. He played, opened up for Pink. Got to watch what's his name, Justin.
Justin. Yeah, he's amazing. The guy with the long, he looks like kind of Kurt Cobain sort of.
Yeah. He's
phenomenal.
I only had like 2 brief conversations with him during because I wasn't there that long. Unfortunately, because it was only, like I said, it was just a dep gig. But he was lovely, but he's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's insane. He's on the
live. I just can't believe he can play like that live. Like I feel like you have to be like sitting down, and the guitar has to be up here, in your bedroom to be able to play that well.
Did they do the Bohemian Rhapsody cover on tour? I think I've seen him do that. Pink.
Maybe it's something they threw in every night, threw in at different times. I don't think I saw it, but I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, they do a cover of it, and he does the solo, and he does kind of a little bit of like ad-libbing at the end, and it's just killer, man. It's just like it's unbelievable. Like his accuracy and speed is like. Do you warm up for shows? Like, do you have a kind of process like to warm up before gigs, or do you just pretty much go out and go for it?
Yeah, no, kind of, yeah. Because I do warm up because I think it helps, It definitely helps just loosen up things a little, and like rather than, I don't feel like it makes me be able to play any faster or anything, but it just like I can play a little bit cleaner and things just feel a bit less awkward. But the warm up, I'd have a better warm up now that I kind of do at home, but I think on that tour I was just sort of running scales, just playing on an acoustic guitar, just slowly going through scales, and one key, but 10 minutes or something. And
what's could you talk us through the difference maybe of playing some of the television performance style stuff you've done compared to doing like the kind of like arena shows. What's it like? Can you talk me through like the day of Ellen DeGeneres, like that performance and what that looked like, and from like arriving in, getting signed in the car park to going on stage and getting off? Dying to know. Ellen DeGeneres, unreal.
Well, yeah, that's in like Warner Brothers Studios in Hollywood, so that was exciting. I think that was actually the first. That was probably the first TV show I did with Niall. Yeah. So you go in through security and all that stuff and get your little name tag. And I don't know. I just kind of remember there was a lot of waiting around. I think there was a ping pong table there, and everyone was having a go at a bit of ping pong. But it was pretty nerve wracking. It wasn't live. Sorry, we were playing live, but the TV show was pre-recorded. Oh no, is that on pre-recorded? Yeah. I think you record it a day in advance or something. So luckily in that situation you get like 2 goes of playing the song, or you can get 3 goes if needs be.
Yeah.
The TV at that point it was really casual, like, and it was fine. Just went in, there was a bit of waiting around, and you go in and you play the song, and then that's it. Like 20 minutes later or half an hour later, there's a lift, to bring you back to the hotel. That all wasn't too involved, like for me at that point. And you just go in and play the same way. You just play it as you've rehearsed it. There's no difference between like sort of playing it live. Well, unless it's like if you're playing a single, you generally just play it exactly as it is on the record. Whereas live, there's a bit more, the arrangement might be different, or you've got a bit more room to sort of move around. But then the TV show thing changed completely after like becoming musical director on it. Man, yeah, that's a different ballgame. It's like,
go on, talk us through that. How did it change? Obviously, the responsibility, I imagine, went through the roof.
There's just so many people asking you questions, and just like you've just to report to so many people, just producers and like, stage managers and sound guy and video guys and camera. Like it's like, oh yeah, and they're like looking to. Like they're looking to like extend a tune. They were looking to extend an intro, and the funny thing about it is like generally the people who are asking you to do these things don't have any clue about that music. Like they can't speak, so like they're going, oh yeah, extend it by like 4 or 32 or something, and it's like, well, like what is it, like is it 4 bars or 32 bars? Because like what's the difference between 5 seconds and 2 minutes, or what? Like,
yeah.
So there's a bit of that going on where you're kind of trying to read people's mind. And just it's pretty, like, I didn't realize it before, because like you just get a call and you just have to go into the studio and play. Like you just have to walk from the dressing room in and just play. But
do you have more appreciation now for kind of like the guys who came maybe before you, like the amount of work?
For sure, yeah, absolutely. It's like while I was chilling in the dressing room originally, going, oh, this is great, eating this nice sandwiches and stuff. It was Jerry. Was probably out there in logistic hell.
Running around.
Yeah. So I really felt that there on a couple of the days. It wasn't overwhelming, because I'm pretty good at just kind of calming myself down, and going, right, okay, this is what, and the job got done. But it's just so snappy. They want things so fast, and but it was great. Like the result was good in the end, and it sounded good, and everyone was happy. But it was always going to sound good because we had rehearsed. But what they wanted out of the whole thing, it worked for them. So
yeah, and on that note, like, how do you kind of manage kind of pressure and maybe stress, and in relation to playing and in relation to, as you said, being the kind of musical director and having to deal with a lot more personalities, technical questions, all the kind of production that comes with performance? How do you kind of manage yourself to keep yourself calm and manage that kind of stress? Or do you get nervous at all before gigs? Or
I just a little bit nervous, like sometimes, but I think it's good to be nervous. Like you're not going to be in that position if you haven't prepared for it, So yeah, I don't know. I feel it was kind of stressful, and there was like it felt like there was a lot of work, and it was a little bit overwhelming. Nothing that couldn't be managed, but it was only because it was my first time doing it. Uh, like if I went in tomorrow to do it, I'd have all that experience now of doing it, so it would be a lot.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot easier. And I suppose that's the same with anything. It's just the more you do it, the less you feel overwhelmed by like all the information being thrown at you. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I'm making it sound like it was a catastrophe. It was actually all right. It was, and I wasn't running around freaking out. But in here, I was freaking out a little, but keeping it.
Well, I mean, look, like I don't think it matters who you are. I mean, it's like if you're stepping onto that stage, that's the world stage for TV. Like, so, I mean, there is going to be that expectation is probably on your shoulders from obviously Niall and the crew that comes with that, and then you're dealing with the whole production crew. You're dealing with as you mentioned, like a producer, and you're dealing with all the technical producers and directors, and I mean that would be that is a lot to do, especially your first time. I mean that must hats off to you for because I saw that performance and it was amazing. So,
well, it has to be done. Like, I was chatting to Andy Henderson, who's like our keyboard tech, drum tech, and he also controls like the playback system. And I was, because I was there, like there was a half an hour period where he was helping me out, and I was sweating beside him. Just stuff about, it was mostly to do with back and track stuff, and just bouncing different things, and he was like, I was sweating, and then when it ended and it all went grand, I was like, geez, I was like, thanks, thanks for helping me get through that. I was like,
yeah.
I learned so much in that last half an hour. I learned more than I've ever learned from watching YouTube videos or studying. And he goes, yeah, that's generally how it happens,
Deep end.
By fire. Yeah, just thrown in the deep end and you come out of it. So yeah, it was great. It was great that it happened. Kind of thinking back, it was kind of a bit of a buzz like at the time, but also it was the most horrible feeling ever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're probably totally running on adrenaline. Like I remember that, like when I finished, my sound engineering course, that summer I went on to do EP, like Litch Picnic, on the third biggest stage, I think it was, the Qurartet stage. And I remember, like, I was just thrown in there, man, and I was so nervous, and I didn't really know what I was doing really at all. Like, and I just remember walking away from the 3 days, being like, I learned probably 6 months worth of just what it would take to. Because you're doing it there, like those stages, you're doing it there all day, but just being thrown in the deep end, I think, and just sometimes you have to go for it, don't you? You just have to take that jump and go, I'll do it, like, and you walk away better, like, from it.
For sure, yeah, and it's the time limit that's put on these things that just makes it like, that's really why you kind of improve and get better out of it, because you have to learn this new thing on the spot while there's a load of people there watching you. And it feels like you probably feel the same way. Like in those situations, if things are getting a bit sort of like, you've got to sort of provide the goods or whatever. You feel like everyone's watching you and everyone's breathing down your neck. Like, oh, okay, because they kind of are.
Yeah, well, they are. They absolutely are. I mean, like you're the man, like if there has to be someone to lead it, and I guess you're in those shoes, so that pressure is on you, and I can imagine that.
I'm not anymore.
Yeah. You'll be back now, or it's only, hopefully we'll get back to reality soon. But like what advice would you have for kind of maybe like younger kind of people, younger kids coming up, or even current musicians, kind of like that are trying to get bigger gigs and just get foots in the doors and places? What's your general advice that's worked for you, kind of to get you where you are?
I've never been. I don't really know about getting gigs and like networking or anything, because I've never really been like hustly or anything like that. I'm not really. Just don't have that kind of personality to go out and be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And, you should if you want guitar, you should get me. I can be your guitar player. Like so I don't really know advice. I just think you just have to work hard at your instrument, like, and be able to play well, and at the same time try not to become a dick. Try not to be an asshole. It's like, because like if you're just like, if you're friendly and you're outgoing, then you don't really have to worry about the networking side of things, because you're just going to meet people anyway, because you'll just end up having a chat with people. Like, So I didn't mean to say that before, but the hustling thing, like saying that I don't go out and like meet people and say, oh, I just
You
like
just stay in your room.
yeah, like obviously you're meeting people all the time and always was,
Yeah.
but like I think if you're just like it's like social in some way, then and you can play well, and also if you
Just
just
there.
if you love it, you
There.
know, there's people who play and people who are like in it because they want the glory and they want, you know, they just want, they almost want to be like a little bit sort of, I mean, session musicians now, talking about like they almost want to be like famous themselves, and it's like, yeah, it's not really about that. We're there to like play behind someone else and to back someone else up, and it really should just kind of come from your own love of doing the thing,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, and give us kind of some info on your Jake Curran Quartet. I've seen some of your videos. They're amazing, the arrangements and like the way you write songs, and like the way
Yes.
it's just so above my head. It's just it's so impressive.
To me, that's a bad thing. Like if it's above someone's head, that's a terrible thing. So I have to.
Well, I mean to play. I can listen to it and I can listen to it and appreciate it, but to play, like, no.
I never want to listen to anything that's above my head. Just want to listen to. Well, that's the funny thing. I don't really listen to a lot of music like that anymore. Like I did when I was like a teenager, like fusion-y stuff, and you know,
Yeah.
even like kind of, you know, guitar heroes to some degree. Like I mostly listen to like songwriters and bands and stuff. So it's kind of, but what it was started touring. This is like the start of 2017, and did maybe 3 months, and I was kind of looking ahead, going, yeah, there's going to be a lot of playing the same set over time, and a lot of playing the same song. So I should probably just fucking do my own thing, you know, on the side. So I like booked a gig like a month in advance in Artist, and then just wrote a bunch of tunes. And most of them are still the tunes that we play, and they're kind of like, some of them are kind of crap, you know. But there's always new ones getting thrown in, and then Adam Taylor, bass player, and Luke Dunford, they write tunes for the band as well. So it's a great. I always look like I miss doing it because there was times where I hated it because it kind of felt like it had to be this amazing thing, and I was putting a bit of pressure on myself, and I was so nervous before the gigs, and thankfully the first few gigs were really. I was more nervous for those gigs than any.
I was going to say, yeah. I was just going to ask you, were you? And that's it's so interesting you say that, man, because I'm the same. Like when I'm playing my own gigs, I'm so nervous. Like, not nervous about kind of like playing guitar in front of people. It's just like I don't want to mess it up, and I put this massive weight on my shoulders. And like most people don't even know the songs anyway. I don't know, why do we do that? Like, why do musicians do that? It's like,
it's like you kind of suck fun out of it, like for yourself.
Yeah, big time.
But I suppose like
I wonder, is it because is it because you're so attached to it? Like, you know, like, I mean, you love that music, so
you build it up in your head that it has to be this thing, you know, that's really good. But like for me, I started enjoying it when I stopped caring about it. And I just went, I don't give a shit about this anymore. But like, obviously that's not going to work for you because your band is something that you actually put a lot of time into and like want to do well. Like my band's just like a gig that I do for fun when I come home, you know, where yours is a more serious thing. So I wouldn't recommend not giving a shit about it. I found that really strange. It was like the first gig after that, I was like, wow, I think that was like my favorite gig I've ever done. And that was only recently. That was probably like, I don't know, May last year or July or August last year. And it just got really fun. It's a good gig because it's like there's tunes, but there's also just loads of room for improvisation in the middle of them.
Yeah.
It kicks off, and it's a good way to blow off steam.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. So I loved that other project you were involved with as well. Was it called Hold Up? The band kind of covers you were doing.
Oh yeah, the lads.
That was that first video you did of the Weekend song. Oh, that was just killer, man. I remember watching that, going, like, Jesus, that's because it's really good. It has the hooky pop song in there, but you have the arrangement is amazing, and you have that dual solo with the saxophone player. It's just the harmonies and amazing.
Yeah, we had it. That was like that time when we were doing all them was great crack. We're so lazy though. We can't get we need to get a video together. We've been talking about doing another video for about 4 years. Even now we can't get one together. Like it's someone needs to. We need an MD. That's the problem. We don't have an MD.
Exactly.
It needs someone to like whip us into shape. But
You need to sit up there, Jake.
I
They were amazing.
No, because I like Adam Taylor, bass player. He's just amazing. So if anyone should be in charge, it should be him. But
Yeah,
at some point.
Yeah, you have to get back into the saddle and do another video, because that was like killer. I remember just seeing it and it's unreal. The vocalist as well, the singer was super good as well.
Yeah,
amazing voice.
He's a ridiculous guitar player as well. His playing's amazing, and his lead playing is savage. But like, just his groove for rhythm playing is something I like when I play with him. I'm always going, fuck. I need to really work on my time and my he's savage. But
yeah,
there's something fun about like taking a pop song, like which has 4 chords, and trying to throw a few jazz chords and expensive chords in there, and
expensive chords.
Love
it.
It's stuff. Yeah, it's all stemmed from like Dirty Loops, they did the first couple of videos like that.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I'm gonna bring in a question here. I know we're kind of caught up in time. Sorry, we don't want to keep you too long, but
I'm good. Time means nothing.
Good stuff. This is from Davey. So Davey is asking, what are your thoughts on guitar playing and social media? It's so saturated right now. Any tips on building a name nowadays? I've seen you do videos for Pickup Jazz, which is amazing. And then he said in the comments after that, sorry for the long questions. So there's a few questions in there.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. Hey, Davey. Yeah, I got kind of lucky with that Pickup Jazz side of things. So I think I got on it kind of early, and I don't even know if maybe I did a couple of videos that Blakelock, who runs the whole thing, started like because he was at one point he was running like a notation thing that would go under the video, and I think he called it Insta Notation or some bullshit like that. but I would I transcribed the parts from. So I've become real good friends with him, and I'm actually doing a bunch of video lessons for Pickup now. So we became good friends. But advice, I think his thing was like, I know this is probably like advice that everyone give you, but like sort of have a unique thing. And like there's a guy who he posts called Ruben Wan, and his unique thing is the camera sort of pans, like when he moves up the fretboard, the camera just pans up the fretboard and stuff, and it's just like something simple like that. I think he has maybe an interesting picture in the background, or like there's
small details.
Stuff that's like recognizable. So I suppose that is kind of it. But about hashtags and all that stuff, don't ask me. I have no idea. I don't think I've ever had any luck with that. Like that, pulling in viewers. But
it's hard, man. It's hard. There's so many good people out there. Like, I mean, that is a good question. I mean, it is. It is, and I think like even tools like YouTube and Instagram, like there's just so many good players out there now. It's like it is hard to cut through that. But I think that's a really good point you were saying about trying to be something unique, even whether it's like your background or where you are or whatever. Or, the cameras you're saying, that's really good suggestions.
The thing is, it's like the bad thing about Pickup Jazz is, and I hope Sam's not watching, but
sorry Sam.
It's kind of just created this like sound of like guitar players who all sort of play very similarly, and like it's amazing. And the guys who are the most amazing at doing that kind of like neo soul, kind of chordal stuff, it's like it's fucking savage. But there's so many people doing it, so like. Yeah, it's saturated with guitar players, but it's saturated with like people who are playing the same kind of stuff. So maybe that's something to take note of, because again, if you play a different style or play something in a different kind of way, that'll stand out a little bit. Like I've definitely realized that, because like I was definitely like playing kind of in that style and trying to do all that stuff, and now whenever I catch myself playing like that, I go, this just sounds like it sounds like everyone else doing that thing. So it sounds like everyone else who does it, except you're not doing it as well as them, because they do that all the time. That's their main thing. So I think that's what we're noticing. Like not trying to be better at someone who's already doing it really well because it's like, impersonators and like people who like someone who can sound like Elvis. It's like, yeah, he sounds like Elvis, but he's not Elvis.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's hard. I mean, and like there is going to be blockers as well and stuff that kind of get, that you have to hurdles you have to jump over. Like have you ever had any kind of hurdles in your kind of career where you're from like that you had to kind of overcome, and I don't know, maybe like you've not getting enough gigs or getting too many gigs or any sort of blocker in your career where you have to kind of sit down and go, right, this needs to change for this to happen. Have you ever had kind of a moment like that?
Yeah, every day. Yeah. Yeah. No, I have I've no doubts that I can like I know I can play the guitar, but like as a general thing, but like within that there's so many things about my playing that I just absolutely hate. And and if you focus too much on one of them, it's like, oh well, I really am crap. I think I'm crap, because it's like, right, I'm looking at one tiny little aspect, but as a whole, like in other things, yeah, like generally I'm fine with the whole thing. But yeah, it's it. And then the gig thing, yeah, like coming off tour, like, and like no one books you for gigs in town because they think you're away all the time. So that's a hard thing to kind of come to terms with.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do about that one other than like keep in contact with people. But
do you ever get like do you ever get people kind of maybe the mindset, oh, he's too big for us now, like I couldn't book him, or like do you find that?
Maybe. A lot of the time I find the opposite. You find people just trying to get you to do stuff for free all the time. And it's like,
yeah.
Come on, we're all trying to make a living here. But no, I don't know. I suppose like with the other thing, it's like you just gotta sort of take it and go, fuck yeah, right, that's an area that I'm pretty weak at. All I can do is work on it and try and get better at it. Which definitely helps me. But yeah, just like everyone, you get into holes in your brain where you're going, oh, I suck.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you kind of go through those days for sure.
Yeah.
Someone just wants to give you a quick shout out here. It's really enjoyed the episode. By the way, studying with, not sure if you.
Oh, Ali. Yeah, Ali's a great mate of mine. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Sweet. Yeah. Ali's a real good friend. Great guitar player. Great teacher.
Nice.
Yeah, we were actually chatting. We were chatting we were chatting last week. Yeah. That's cool. Thanks for the shout out. I don't think I've ever said shout out before. It felt weird.
I don't want to kind of spend too much time on it just because it's a difficult thing to talk about, really. But like, what are your views on kind of, or what's your thoughts or feelings like where the music industry is going to be? Maybe the live scene specifically for yourself after all the COVID-19. What's your thoughts on that? I know it's a tricky one to answer.
God, yeah, I don't know. I suppose if at some point in the next year there's a vaccine for the thing, then I'm sure gigs can go back to being normal. But like, it's like socially distant gigs, if that's even a thing. I know they've trialed some of them, but if that will actually become a thing, like the capacity of venues, you'll have to reduce the capacity by like 80 or 90%, which is mad because if you're thinking it's 2 meters every direction, that you have to stand away from people. So that reduces an arena from 20,000 to 2,000 or 4,000.
Yeah, which you just can't do.
Yeah, it's not financially viable at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's one of those things that it's a bit worrying because they could then, book out an arena and put on one gig and film the gig and then license the gig to say like Ireland has it this week and people in Ireland can watch it, or you can buy it, or it's a pay-per-view thing or whatever. So it's like a virtual tour. But that's all well and good and all, but like if you're selling a virtual tour, then there's only going to be one performance, surely. Management, like the people up high, those people will see the opportunity where, oh yeah, we can just get the band in the room for one day, film something, pay them their day rate, and then sell that video 1 million times. So it could like really reduce the amount of work for musicians. That's kind of where, I don't know. That's a negative thing, I suppose, but maybe it's realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like as I said, like once there is a solution, I think I say people are just absolutely just screaming to get back out to do, go and sing along at songs and go sing the songs they love and go see the bands they love. So I mean, Stephen was saying on the previous episode, like he reckons there could be a big surge for next year for like too busy in a way that where like there's not enough venues for artists to play in, and because they're booked out from the there's backlog now for the whole year basically of the next
100%. And with like sports has been off as well, and then there's obviously already gigs that were booked in for 2021. So if everything's okay by 2021, there's going to be
it's going to be crazy.
To me, one of the best case scenario things is that, right, all like the bigger venues will all be booked out, and artists will have to start playing in smaller venues and doing more nights in smaller venues. So then, and I much prefer playing like in smaller venues like theaters and stuff like that. They just sound better, and it's just I don't know. So that would be great, but also you'd get more. The tours would be longer, and so maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, you'd get like kind of a longer calendar for the year as well. You kind of be nice to get you. Davey has just another question here from Davey. Just the last question. Simple everyday practice techniques. I think he's asking, do you have any recommendations?
I think that's like the great thing to do is to just get like a 10-minute thing that you do every day. I just because who can't spare 10 minutes, especially now? But whenever normal life resumes, it's going to be fairly easy to slot 10 minutes in. So maybe will I just get a guitar? I've got a guitar over here. I'll show you. Just give me 2 seconds.
Go for it.
Yeah. Actually, I'll just run upstairs and get an acoustic. Sorry, I'm back. Oh, sorry, I plugged my headphones out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, David's getting value for his money here. He's getting the demonstration, the whole lot.
Yeah, so I feel like I wasted a load of time by like practicing scales like this. Just G major. Like you would do like a scale warm-up routine and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I felt that was a waste because, like, fair enough, you learn the scale shape and you learn the notes, but you end up playing like that. You just played scale passages, and I know to me that doesn't sound interesting. So what I started doing was, if you take the low G there, and then the high G. How do I get this thing to actually look somewhat decent? It's in reverse as well, so
yeah, that's good. Looks good.
Yeah. So the high G up there. I know this guitar has a silly fretboard, but so play the scale from down there from the low G to the high G. Whatever pattern you want. It's kind of it's almost better if the pattern's random. So that's cool because you're covering the whole neck. You're covering the whole neck, but at the same time you're still sounding scaly. So what I tried to do for 10 minutes every day for it was like the first month of the lockdown, I think I did it, maybe like the first 6 weeks. Was just do for 10 minutes, go from there to like roughly around here and back, but just play the notes in random order. I know that sounds like...
That sounds hard.
But it just sounds like, oh, what do you mean in random order? But like literally just take, like there's 6 or 7 notes, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So just put like, I would just go like.
So you're nearly string skipping there, sort of, are you? Or
Yeah, well, sometimes there's string skip and sometimes there isn't, but I'm just sort of like, I've visualized where the notes of G major are along the fretboard, and I'm just picking random ones. So I would sit there, like, maybe would each day do a different key and get a drum loop going. So the drum loop. And just play like.
yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And you can do big leaps, and essentially you're just like doing different intervals. You're doing like intervals of a third, intervals of a fourth, a fifth, sixth, seventh, and
is the goal to like just kind of so you don't sound as boxy, kind of your runs? That's essentially the goal, is it? Sort of.
Yeah, the goal is like, so you don't sound boxy, and so you start to hear different melodies within your playing rather than just hearing a scale. Because I'm kind of all about playing melodies. Really, that's sort of my main goal when soloing, is just play different melodies and
even there, I mean,
licks and stuff.
Even I can hear there. It's like it doesn't sound familiar. It sounds interesting. Like it's not the same scale. You know what I mean?
It's kind of random, and whatever. Do it for 10 minutes, and that'd be great. But then, like, say like it's good to record this stuff as well all the time, by the way. But say towards the end, or say at some point, like, you don't like, say if you stumble across, say you get, you're up here and you go. And you go, oh, that sounds nice. Then just like take it, and that's kind of a little idea in itself. So from your like constant stream of like loads of notes, you've got this little melody that
I love that.
Sounds cool. Yeah, it sounds cool, and it's just like it's just something that would have like it's an interesting exercise, because you have to be really conscious about not falling into your old ways and just playing patterns.
I'm definitely guilty of that myself.
And then the more you do this, the more you go, oh, that's a pattern that I do. Like I'll like basically, when I play a note and then I do like a leap, or I kind of always have a tendency to like just go up a major or minor second after that. So it'd be like, so try to get out of that, by keeping the intervals, making the intervals bigger, I don't know. I'm failing at it right now, but you get the idea.
No, that's definitely good advice. I mean, it sounds even kind of nearly like John Mayer, kind of the way he plays his solos. They're not really shreddy solos. They're melodic, kind of like melodies, as you were saying. It kind of has that vibe.
Yeah, like so like I think that's a good thing to do for 10 minutes. And to be fair, when I got to a point where I stopped doing it, like, and I would more go like try to be more rhythmical with it.
Yeah.
Just so it sounds a bit more interesting, and it's not just
yeah, it's not all on the one, like, basically.
Yeah, it's not just like a constant stream of 8 notes. But sorry, I might be going off on a tangent here, but
no, it's great. He's getting good information here. This is great.
I kind of like talking about this stuff. So like when we were saying that we do this, this thing, actually Julian Lage, if you check out Julian Lage, you probably checked him out already, but Julian Lage is the guy who I kind of robbed this idea of, that previous idea. He's amazing. But yeah, so if we look like that idea, one thing then is like, say you've got that's a melody. a cool thing is to try and like move that through the scale. So that would be.
Yeah, so you're moving the melody up basically.
You're moving, through the scale, and you're kind of taking that as your like your motif, or just your like your melodic kind of idea, and then developing on it. Sorry. Then that's the next idea. Develop that. That kind of thing. So like trying to get a lot of mileage out of something that's like pretty, like a small little idea.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, David, I think that hopefully that answers your question. Now we got the in detailed version.
Yeah. Send me a message if you want to chat about it more. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, no, he's. I'm sure he would love to do that. So, David, you heard it there. If you feel free to reach out. I'd say it's hard for people to get you on Instagram because you've quite a few followers, and I'm not sure actually if you get his.
No one contacts me. It's pretty easy.
Okay. No worries. Listen, I think we better wrap up. We're coming up on a way over our mark, which is I really appreciate you staying on that long. Yeah. It's absolutely spot on. But yeah, any closing advice for any kind of musicians that want to be the next Jake Curran, just want to get on Ellen DeGeneres, want to tour the world, want to be up there on the world stage?
God, I don't know. Just don't be an asshole and work on your timing.
Timing and asshole. Okay,
in all senses of the word.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to hit you with some quick fire questions. This is the first one that comes into your head. Okay. Dream gig to get. Band.
James Taylor.
Biggest pinch me moment. Red Rocks? No, maybe.
Maybe probably the first ever gig, which was in this like outdoor amphitheater in San Diego. First gig with Niall. That was like I couldn't really talk for a while afterwards.
Oh man, I can't imagine how it must feel. Favorite Niall Horan tune to play?
Heartbreak Weather.
Top 3 most influential guitarists on your career. Actually, let's go. Yeah, I was gonna go 5, but if you have 5,
why don't we do top 3 and then top 3 currently? Like top 3 over, like maybe like Jeff Beck. So like overall probably Jeff Beck, Brad Paisley, Mike Stern.
Nice, solid.
And then currently, I don't know. I always love like Mike Landau is one of my favorites. Who has Blake Mills, Madison Cunningham. Oh, and Nels Klein from Wilco.
Nice.
He's great.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, and then I will wrap it up with this one. So your one desert island piece of gear. I suppose desert island, you're not going to have electricity there, really, are you? But
yeah.
Your favorite piece of gear. Let's just say that you could not gig without, like, that needs to be there.
Strymon Timeline.
Nice. That's the delay one. Yeah, I have one here on the floor beside me.
Yeah. Actually, no, I like the Flint. Strymon Flint.
Yeah, that's lovely. I don't have that one. I have to be honest with you. I actually can't really get that working properly for me. I don't think I've spent the time with the Strymon. I don't know what it is. I use plugins on. I just find the plugins easier to use or something when I'm recording. I usually go in dry and add them after the fact. But I really need to put my head down and really learn that gear. So if you have any tips for me, send them.
It is one of those things where you kind of have to just sort of get lost in it and put the head down, and you have to make all these presets, because none of the presets are like, some of them are good, but a lot of them are same with all those. Well, not with all. Actually, Strymon are not the worst for it, but like with a lot of multi effects things, the presets are way too over the top, and it's like they're just designed
Yeah.
that way to wow you when you're in the guitar shop. You know, you hear something,
Yeah.
you go whoa, but
That's
actually in
amazing.
reality, it sounds shit like in a real life situation.
Yeah. Can you give me like a preset setting that might help any other users as well? Because like a generic, which delay you use, and even just time settings, like a time, like
Yeah.
3
I always
seconds.
go for like the analog delay. With like the see, this is this is the problem that I have like with delays. You set the when you're at home, you set the mix really low, because like your room or your studio or whatever is really clean, and like there's not like a lot of reverberation or like reflections and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can kind of hear the delay pretty clearly. But then when you get in a gig, if you like say on the Strymon, if you have the mix at like 9 o'clock, you won't hear that like on a gig when there's people playing. So
Yeah.
I've always like really found that hard to, because then when you're at home, like say you get to the gig and you end up turning the mix up to 12 o'clock, and then you go home and play it, and it's like there's too much delay. It sounds
Yeah. It's super loud. Like.
so. I don't know. Maybe like put the mix in at like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Feedback. I don't know. Maybe just have like 3 repeats, and then the analog setting is really good, and like between 300 and 400 milliseconds.
Yeah. That's nice.
It's kind of a decent sort of, yeah. I don't know if it always has to be in time as well. I don't know if the delay has to be in time with what you're playing. Like obviously,
Yeah. Actually, a lot of mix engineers say that too about vocals. Like, they're not always in time, and actually sometimes they put it out of time to give the song feel.
Yeah, it sort of does get away from the like a kind of more robotic kind of sound or something. But yeah, what else? And then there's the other knobs on it. I don't know what they do. There's like the filter one, and then there's like another one beside it. The filter obviously makes it sound bright when it's one way, and it kind of another way. But
there's
I don't know.
There's great as well, and just great and speed and depth, and
yeah, I don't know.
Loads. I need
put them in the middle. Just have them pointing up.
Haven't sounded good anyway, at least.
Actually, there's for anyone if there's somewhere online. I don't know where it is. It could be on the Strymon website, but Michael Landau made 3 patches for the timeline, and he uploaded them.
So, okay, yeah, definitely jump on them.
This is a long time ago, but it was like an official thing like that Strymon did. So they were checking out, because I'm pretty sure like a lot of my delay sounds that I'd have programmed into it, I just used that as the basis and then tweaked.
Yeah. And actually, out of curiosity, just one more question before I let you go. When you were using the Kemper, did you put the packs on that, or did you dial that in, or was that his rig and you plugged into it?
It was
Julie and Michael's gig.
It was his rig, so he just sent me the files, and I rented a Kemper for like a day, because you know there's a bit of lying that goes on sometimes. You know, he asked me, did I ever use a Kemper, and was I a Kemper user? So I obviously said yeah all the time, but I've never used it. So I rented a Kemper for like a day, just so I could to be fair, they're really easy to use, so I didn't actually need to do it, but just to be safe. Oh, actually, Ali Donald gave me a lend of his Kemper as well at one point, but I hadn't been sent the patches yet, so I couldn't really do anything. I could just use this. But yeah, when I got to the gig, all his patches were loaded in, so I didn't have to fiddle with anything. I didn't have to like tweak any sounds. That would have been terrible. Like, imagine tweaking all his sounds and then him coming back.
Yeah, I was just wondering like how you jumped in there. I was like, you must have been using his rig, because like such a quick turnaround to get to do a show that big must have been just like mad.
Yeah, and there was no sound check either. It was just like thrown, and no rehearsal or anything. It was just thrown straight in the deep end.
My God,
that one, I was probably pretty nervous for that one, to be fair. Yeah,
it's a pretty big gig to be on with no rehearsal for.
Yeah, it was frightening at times, but it was great. But I had to use his guitars, and like you saw that picture that you just put up there, that where I'm playing the acoustic, like this mad looking white, not that one, the other one with Julia, this silly thing. I don't know, what are they? Are they hummingbirds?
Oh yeah, that's the jumbo, isn't it? That's the hummingbird is the Kings of Leon one, isn't it?
Hummingbirds are cool looking. Sorry, yeah. That's yeah. I didn't really like that.
It's huge. The body is massive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah. Yeah,
We got through it anyway.
Yeah, he had a Les Paul, a white Les Paul Studio. I think that was on loan from Gibson that he used as well. And yeah, it was grand.
Yeah, nice one. Listen, Jake, thanks a million, man, for coming on, chatting to me. I really appreciate it. We're gone way over time, which is a really good sign. So I really appreciate you staying on and chatting. And hang on at the end of this as well. I'll chat to you just when I end the broadcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks a million for having me.
No problem at all. Thanks a million for everyone that joined on, and thanks for all the comments and questions that came in. There was a few shout outs to you as well, Jake. I didn't put them all up, but thanks for jumping on. And next week I have the amazing Ray Keogh, photographer, on, so make sure you come back next week and check it out. So with that, just want to say big massive thanks again, Jake, and we'll catch you next week.
Cheers. See ya.